Hey, John Sonmez from simpleprogrammer.com. So I got a question about systems. If you've been following some of my stuff lately, you know that I'm pretty big into systems. I read a book called E-Myth Revisited, where he talks about like kind of building systems. And as I'm trying to grow Simple Programmer, I've kind of had to do this just because as I'm bringing different employees on and trying to get more people working on this besides just me, I need to have systems in place to get this going. So I did an email newsletter talking about my systems, and I got this email from Joel, and Joel said, "Hi John, I just got around to reading your post on systems and E-Myth Revisited. I read that book about 10 years ago and it was transformative. It was the catalyst that convinced me to go get my MBA because I felt like it was talking my language about creating simple systems that anyone could run and then using these to replicate a successful business. Anytime I've been given talks to groups, I always bring it up and recommend it. I think creating systems and checklists has always been part of my adult life, mostly because I enjoy efficiency, from business efficiency to hacking assembly code to get the tightest inner loop possible. In my personal life, my kids got indoctrinated into my idea of systems when they learned at an early age, do not touch daddy's keys, wallet, or cell phone. I'm generally easygoing, but I get extremely frustrated when I'm trying to get out the door and can't find these 3 essential items. They always go in the same place. It's a ritual." I'm with you, Joel. I do the same thing. Now I use OneNote to create a system for knowing what I need to do each week and planning my time. I'm sure there are better and more modern tools, but for now, OneNote is a huge step up from Excel. But one thing I've struggled with is in the last few years is when the list of things to do gets too long and overwhelming, I choke. My mind rebels, I shut down, I get demotivated. This has been the area of focus for me in the last year as I've recognized this as a real problem and I'm trying to find a system that will overcome this barrier. How about you? Any suggestions? So I actually replied to Joe. I usually do kind of a short reply, and then he had replied back and kind of added this other thing. He wanted to know also about if I ever face an issue where all that I'm doing is priority things and I never have the time to do fun things to put on my board. And he mentioned eating broccoli is good and wise, but occasionally you need a candy bar. How do you make sure you don't drown or burn out by just doing good and responsible things? So I'll kind of working a little bit backwards here from the original question. So what I run into the same problem, right? This is one of the problems that I've had recently is I end up with this big board of all of these things on my to-do list, and then I start to feel overwhelmed and I'm not making progress and these lists are just growing and what am I supposed to do? It does feel demotivating. So what I've done is I've basically, in fact, just recently, I started a new board. As I've mentioned before, I use this Kanban flow like board. I use this whole system where I basically plan my week and I put different tasks in there and I slot it all out using the Pomodoro technique. And I have like these columns for next week and later. And those next week and later columns were filling up. So I was getting all this stuff that I need to do, and it was getting overwhelming. So what I did was I just created a new board of kind of an ideas board, and I took stuff. What I did was I went to my original board and I said, what is actually high priority? What is the stuff that I'm actually going to do that I need to get done in the next week or that I'm absolutely going to do? There's no way I'm not going to do this stuff. And I left that there and I took everything else and I put that into a new board of ideas. And I put a few columns there for like tools that I want to look into, for projects that I want to do, for videos I want to shoot or other things. Like I kind of divided that up and I put all that stuff there so that I'm capturing it all. Because I think one of the things that happens is that you feel like you got to get all this stuff down, and so you put it in your to-do list, right? So that you've got it captured, so you don't forget it, because this is something that you want to eventually do. But what happens when you do that is you don't really have a priority, and you feel like you got to do all this stuff. And the reality is you're going to have a lot more ideas in life than you're going to have the ability to execute on them all. But if you can capture them, then you can feel good about it, and you can choose them and you can pick which ones are most important at the time. And so that's kind of my opportunities board, right? So I'm not cluttering my daily to-do list with these opportunities. I'm trying to keep my daily to-do list to be the bare minimum, what I'm actually going to accomplish, what I'm actually going to do, and not have all this other stuff. So that's what I would recommend is making sure that you take your to-do list, trim it down, take it, you pick just a few top things, the few top priorities that you're going to work on, that you're absolutely going to do. Take everything else off and put it onto this other list and organize that list into the different kind of ideas that you have. And when you run out of stuff, if you ever run out of stuff on your main priority list, you can always go there and look at those ideas, and you can review it periodically and see if there's anything that now becomes a good opportunity to do something that was on your ideas board. And that's the strategy that I'm using. I've just incorporated that not too long ago, so it's something that I didn't need until I started getting overwhelmed, but I feel like it's already working for me. It's already making things a lot more clear. I've got when you have a clear focus and you know what you're supposed to do, you get stuff done. When you don't have a clear focus, you procrastinate, you don't feel motivated, right? So you got to make sure that you have a clear focus. And then again, to address your second point to this about, what about when you're doing all priority things and you never have time for fun things? I put a few kind of fun tasks on my board, right? So I'll look, or when I have some downtime, like sometimes I won't feel like working on stuff that I need to work on. And so then I can go to that kind of ideas board, and I've pulled out a few things, like do some research on a tool, something that's really not very taxing on me, right, that I enjoy doing. And I pull in a few fun projects as well, right, because not everything is just like the super most efficient priority thing. You can't like live your life being just extremely, extremely efficient and not do anything fun. Otherwise, you'll be a dull boy. So you don't want to be a dull boy. So anyway, that's what I do as well, and you got to balance that out. It helps if you know what you're supposed to get done, because then you can slot time for fun as well. Like you can actually plan that out and make it so that you give yourself a certain amount of relaxation time or free time to do whatever you want to do. Another thing that I do is every couple of every so often, maybe like 5 to 10 weeks, I take 1 week where I don't plan anything. I just do whatever I want to do that week. And it's usually work stuff, but it's whatever I want to work on, not the priority thing, just like whatever kind of fun projects or things that I want to work on. And that kind of it does two things for me. One, it gives me that outlet so that I don't like always feel like I'm like a robot structured into this thing. And then two, it makes me appreciate having that structure when I go back to it, because I realize that I'm a lot more productive when I have priorities, when I know what I'm supposed to be doing and I schedule that out. So I'd recommend doing something like that as well. So thanks for the question, Joel. Hopefully that's helpful to you. If you have a question for me, just email me at john@simpleprogrammer.com. And if you like these videos, definitely subscribe to the channel. I would appreciate it. We're hitting, I think, I'm batching these videos, but at the time that I'm recording this one, I think we're at like 5,000 subscribers. And the goal for this year is to hit that 10,000 number, and I think we can do it. But subscribe if you're watching the videos. You might as well subscribe if you're watching them anyway, right? So go ahead, and I'll talk to you next time.